AZAPO today is launching its elections manifesto at Ga-Phaahla outside Polokwane. The party will also conduct its door-to-door campaign in the area. AZAPO currently has 3 seats at 3 different local municipalities in Limpopo. Our reporter Katlego Nyoni has more. Very good morning to you, Katlego. What's happening where you are?
Good morning there, Desiree. Indeed, AZAPO will be launching its local government manifesto today at Ga-Phaahla village. That will be accompanied by door-to-door campaigning activities led by the honorary president of AZAPO, Musibudi Mangena. Now, this as AZAPO plans to continue engaging in campaigning in order to attract and convince potential voters of the party ahead of November 1st. We know that the overall performance of AZAPO has been on a downward trajectory. It registered its first national election after boycotting the 1994 elections. It campaigned for the 1999 general elections, gaining 1 seat, following in 2004 again attaining 1 seat. The same applied with the next general elections. But ever since then, Desiree, we've noticed and we've seen a decline in the performance of the party with the municipal elections. For example, the figures for the party in terms of overall votes has declined from about 70,000 from that 70,000 margins to around the 28,000 margin currently from the 2016 municipal elections. With us this morning at Ga-Phaahla village is the provincial chairperson of AZAPO, Ga Moyaha, who will give us a sense of where the party currently stands. They have admitted that they have lost support base, but Mr. Moyaha, who is the provincial chairperson, will give us more details about that. A very good morning, Mr. Moyaha. You are conducting a door-to-door campaign here at Ga-Phaahla today in the Sekhukhune district. We know the challenges of the Sekhukhune district. What will be the headlining message in your manifesto launch today?
Good morning. The headlining message for AZAPO this year elections is restore your dignity by taking back power. Take back the power that you have in terms of the vote, and that power, once you do that, it will restore ultimately the dignity if you elect the right people who understand that you have the power to recall them. To AZAPO, the local government elections is a very critical sphere of governance in a constitutional democracy. It is for this reason that AZAPO continues to campaign for the abolition of the provincial government and replace them by simple administrators, and take all resources, financial, human resources, channel them to the local government sphere of governance. And that way we'll see a lot of resources going there, and we'll see the deliverance of services.
Mr. Moyaha, we've seen 2011 local government elections, for example. You had 15 seats overall in the country. 7 were in Limpopo, Sekhukhune, Capricorn and Mogalakwena as well. Moving to the 2016 local government elections, you now sit with 3 seats at Mogalakwena, Makuritamaga and Fetakomu. Clearly that is an indication that your support base has declined. You've been on a downward spiral. What do you think are some of the factors that contributed to AZAPO losing its support base?
It is the major one is the question of resources. In the country, resources are channeled to few parties in order to maintain the status quo. It is done deliberately, knowing that there will be no meaningful changes to the lives of the majority of people. AZAPO suffered that, and hence as we go forth, we say we need to strengthen our resolve of self-reliance, that a revolution should be sponsored by those who feel the pinch, and that is what we are doing this year.
And now, zooming into these municipalities where you currently have representation, Mogalakwena, Fetakomu, as well as Makuritamaga, these are municipalities that have been troubled. They've been implicated in VBS sagas. Now, how do you even begin to have an impact in such municipalities with just a single seat, where we can now start seeing service delivery going to the people? How do you begin to even have an influence in such municipalities?
We are appealing to the voters to give us that power they have, so that AZAPO-led municipality could immediately, when to get into offices, go into the books, see all the magnificence that have been happening, and try and recover the money that belongs to the municipalities. That is number one. The other thing that AZAPO will do is to adhere to Municipal Finance Management Act, and that will, among other things, ensure that at all costs, minimal corruption or corruption at all does take place at those levels. To other thing that AZAPO will do, we will immediately want to eradicate the RDP model of houses that segregates. Immediately when you know the shack, you know it is a black person who stays in that shack and no other person. We want to develop a housing system that will be special, that will reverse the apartheid system of sitting people, where you will know these are the so-called colored, these are the so-called Indian, these are the so-called African blacks, and so forth. We need to develop that and do away with the RDPs and build houses that will people may be allowed to rent, and will ultimate possibilities of purchasing them as time goes on. And that is one way of regaining the dignity that people need.
Thank you very much for your time this morning. There you have it, Desiree. That is Limpopo AZAPO Chairperson Ngwako Moyaha outlining what will be contained in their manifesto launch that will be launched at about 11 a.m. We know that this is a former liberation movement which was formed shortly after the 1976 uprisings. AZAPO was also invited in the early 90s to come and participate in the negotiations to end apartheid, that is the CODESA negotiations, but the party opted not to participate, citing that they were disgruntled, that the liberation movements at the time were not willing to hear them, particularly on the question of land, eventually leading to the resignation of some of their senior members, and that entailed that AZAPO was not going to participate in the first general elections in 1994. Today, as they outlined their manifesto launch here at Ga-Phaahla village in the Sekhukhune district of Limpopo, that has major challenges looking at water and other services. We'll see what AZAPO will try and do in order to woo voters of this region. Desiree?
Katlego, thank you so much for bringing us that AZAPO update.